Thursday, Paladins fans. You're watching the PPC. Dolson and Kresnik are going to kick things off. We're over in Europe to start off, as we always do, Krez, in a close matchup standings-wise between Selestial and Interstellar.
Yes, basically straight down the middle with these two teams, both of them 4 and 5, looking to brawl it out with. And this kind of also creates some maybe lopsided matchups in the other two. Clan Fiesta, Chroma Space, kind of split down the middle. Yoinker is a team that's 7-1 or 8-1 now, excuse me, against Mixalis. But we're definitely on this day able to see what I would consider the highlight matchup for EU of the week.
Yeah, the plus minus between these two teams, the only real separator, and you mentioned Chroma Space, Mixalis, they draw the tough 1-2 matchup over there in that. In their two respective games. So Selestial versus Interstellar, if we kind of dive into this one here a little bit, very close. I think they've won against similar teams. They've lost against similar teams. Do you lean one way in this matchup, Krez, kind of going into things?
I think I like how Selestial have been, I think, in drafts. A lot of the time, I feel like they play a little bit better around slop, and I've seen more out of Slopodopoulos than Barcode specifically, if we're talking about, general controller hit scan flexibility. So that, I think, is going to be a big part of it. But in Europe, I feel like they don't necessarily focus on them as much. So it could be more what the other players, what Stop Any BK or OTEV are able to do in the other picks that are meant to kind of supplement them.
I guess we're at the point now where we've forgotten the old name, and it's just Stop Banning BK from here on out.
I think it's Tired. Tired is what it's called in Discord, so I'll use that, but I'd rather everyone else hear the name that's presented in front of them. But I mentioned maybe targeting towards the console picks here, and Selestial go that way. They start with a Victor ban, I'm assuming targeting Barcode on the other side, but Interstellar aiming a little bit more at the tank situation. Atlas is so good at control on a map like Bright Marsh, I think it makes sense to get rid of him in the ban phase.
Yeah, good point. We kind of glossed over the map screen there. Bright Marsh from map number 1. Ruckus, of course, a fan favorite and a player favorite, really, over here in EU. So you look at some of the power that's still available after this. Of course, over in Europe, you're presenting these as sort of the priority bans. The Genos still available. The Corvus still around as well. Nara, though, for potentially first pick. Yeah, we're in the puppy play zone, so you get a little look at the dog every once in a while here. Krez, what do you think about Nara, first overall pick?
I'm so happy. I see her on the chair. I haven't seen her in motion yet. She was so cute. But Ignara first pick, I think it makes a ton of sense. She's one of the strongest point tanks in the game, but I don't know if I like it with the hit scans they left open. One thing about Europe is that they think that Vivian is just hard countered by Eevee. I really think there is a build that deals with it. You go Scapegoat, you go Health, that way to survive through it. But they're going to go with the healing from the Corvus to supplement it instead, and maybe probably play that movement speed and the lifesteal that we see quite a bit from them. But I almost guarantee you Celestial are going to slam Eevee in this rotation because they think that's the answer. And then there it is right next.
Love seeing some Eevee. I'm sad, the highest tier of Eevee we saw over the last year or so, she's obviously fallen into different hands now depending on, I think, the players on the specific teams. But I always love Eevee, the ability to disrupt, the mobility, very hard to lock down. She will be fighting into a Vivian, so with some of that free-firing potential, could be a fun matchup to follow along with. But you got a stalwart point tank in the Inara, immediately followed in by someone aggressive, great with space control on Bright Marsh in the Ash. Though a Terminus to answer back from Interstellar, I do think Celestial have got to be happy, though, Krez, with the two frontliners they've gotten for themselves.
Agreed. I mean, I think the Eevee is flexible. I think the Ash will pair very, very well with it. And, of course, Inara is going to be Inara. She's going to match up into that Terminus fine. At the very least, they're going to counteract each other. And then you have to go with whatever the rest of the matchup is across the board. Rom will be good at being aggressive. He'll be able to pressure. They don't have a lot of ways to deal with him right now. But those last two picks remain, whether it be a Cassie, whether it be a Genos for lifting him. They need to have somebody. Whoever they pick now, they know that they're going to be getting run down at by a ROM the entire time. So Celestial have that flexibility, and Genos will be the angle. And I wouldn't be even shocked to see another support, maybe, just to supplement that healing that they're going to be lacking.
Sure, I think that's a great call there, Krez, with the Genos prediction. Just, I think, makes too much sense. Obviously, he's one of the highest tier healers anyway, and then a decent matchup into the ROM to help out with a little bit of that lockdown. I mean, you got your tank sorted out. Eevee's your only damage, your highest damage, I suppose, here at that moment. You don't necessarily have this large source of outpouring of direct damage. Koga does provide some of that, though, Kresnik. 63% win rate for the Koga. Does it make some sense for Celestial's final pick?
Yeah, this way, this just means the marks are going to be going on the tanks a lot of the time, and the DPS sometimes, but those are DPS that can protect themselves quite a bit, and when those marks are on, it will definitely help them stay in the fight. But Interstellar have the ability to counterpick that. They can pull out the Shaolin, they can use that to sand trap the Koga. That 1300 damage combined with a cripple could make him an easy follow-up for that Vivian if Slop even slightly overextends.
Well, Celestial versus Interstellar, a very close matchup toward the middle of the table over here in EU. You look at this Celestial composition, Krez, what comes to mind? What do you think this team wants to do?
I think they're going to run in with those flankers and let the Inara just trade in damage on point with that Terminus, right? I mean, Inara maybe gets a mark and then Chaos on the other side where they ignore the ROM, they try to get on the Vivian to mitigate her ability to free fire, and they hope that they can get their kills before Shaolin can stop them.
Plenty of health staying power, though, for Interstellar to work towards. It's a space-themed matchup to start off our day in the PPC. We're going down to Bright Marsh for map number 1, Celestial versus Interstellar. The Shaolin, he might have something to say about this EV here as well. Space control, the name of the game on this map, and aggression maybe over here in EU. Can't wait to dive into things here, Krez, and I think that's a good sort of lead into this game. You look at this EV. Is there a bigger threat, the Vivian? You think the Shaolin might have a good matchup into her? Who from Interstellar do you think draws that card?
I think they're going to be trying to match the EV into the Vivian, I think, consistently. So that's going to be something they have to be concerned about. Maybe stack the DPS, honestly, if you want to deal with him that way. But Vivian completely alone on that side, but is drawing enough eyes for Stop Banning BK to get the first pick.
An early first kill for Interstellar, but immediately answered back as Otev will pull one. Now my ADC is bad. We'll get another onto Toot Toot. So Interstellar, despite ADCs being questionable, will pull back one extra kill, and that numbers advantage is forcing Celestial back just a little bit extra here. Love the positioning. Stop Banning BK here. Xenos, though, the checkerboards of trades. There's a good example of why the Shaolin might feel a little bit more comfortable into the Eevee. Cripples her, forces her down into that ice block, keeps her where she's at. And then a little bit of splash damage will shut down Slapidopoulos just around the corner there. 78 and climbing for Interstellar here. Stop Banning BK. He's on an absolute tear here. Stays alive. Toot Toot can't finish off that kill. It's an ice storm in the back line. But Kresnik, it's not enough. And Interstellar grab point 1.
Them being unable to kill Tired on this Shaolin, I think, was so impactful. They killed everybody else, but he was just constantly a presence and forcing them off of the objective. Klosar couldn't stay on when both the tanks were kind of in the way, so even with the initial picks kind of getting traded and them never stopping Otev, it ended up working out. Barcode really, though, struggling. He needs to play a little bit closer to his team because I feel like he's just getting isolated and picked off constantly.
Yeah, agreed. It's been a rough go of things to start off this game at least. Envil, a little bit off maybe with that ultimate there, but Klosar being slowly chipped away by this ROM. Celestial has bought themselves a decent amount of time, 45 seconds or so, already burnt off of the clock, and an Entropic Breach will drop down just to try to break through this front line here. Celestial not wanting to give up even a little bit of ground, and these individual trades likely feel good for Celestial, a little bit over Interstellar, not allowing them to group up really at all, and they've still got a few ultimates they can volley.
With all this burst damage on these flanks, I mean, trades have to feel good. The problem is once you get to this part of the map, this is where trades really start being a problem, when they're going to be respawning faster than you, so you have to get kills like that, where Slop gets the better of Enviel, but you can't let it go the other way, because they're going to have the advantage.
Yeah, man, it's just 1 for 1, 1 for 2, 2 for 1, whatever. I mean, pretty much across the board here. Interstellar has not gotten anything going on this offensive push. Slapidopoulos, one to thank for that as well. 5 in a row. Finally, Barcode turns around, gets the final bit of damage, but wouldn't you guess it, somebody nearly trades out the kill, but Barcode stays alive. So this is really the first moment of an advantage, I think, that we've seen out of Interstellar. Finally, the backline able to stay alive, get some clean trades over onto Celestial. But with 40 seconds left, it's going to be a long march here for this cart. And Celestial are in a perfect spot, at least ultimate-wise, for the next mid-fight. Interstellar got some ground to make up.
Yeah, but this is definitely a map where you can make it work. It can be so snowbally once you get the card moving, and the health is already rough. Genos can't heal this all up. They're so low, and Enviel finds the first.
Stop Banning BK, some good damage there. A 3-kill volley for Interstellar before Celestial back up onto the high ground out of spawn. It's really Slapidopoulos, the last member left alive here in the backline, but the cart marching forward as well. Big trade out there, I think, to stagger out Stop Banning BK. And so at least the Shaolin will be a touch staggered out. But you have to remember, this Koga's deep in your backline now if you're Interstellar, and he's going to wreak havoc a little bit here. And wouldn't you guess it, Barcode flanked out by Slapidopoulos might have been the defensive saving grace this time around. Snaze still ushering the cart forward, but a couple of kills from Celestial make this a little less likely. And I think this one brought to you by Slapidopoulos staying alive and staying in that backline, forcing Interstellar to be uncomfortable.
Agreed. The fact that, I mean, that one arrow that Tired missed on that Shaolin completely flipped that fight around, honestly. If he hits that follow-up after the cripple that he got onto Slapidopoulos, Slap's dead, they can all stare forward, they don't lose their Shaolin, Vivian doesn't have to turn around at all, so it ends up being a much different fight. And in general, I think shutting down Slap has to be the name of the game. He's 8-3 on this Koga right now. Very, very hard for them to deal without damaging their Vivian. Put Barcode a little closer to the team, make sure those cripple arrows are connecting onto the Shaolin, and at the very least, if you can... Otev's always going to go back to his wormhole, right? So if you can just stop that damage, whether it be with a siphon or by positioning well, Otev will just be an annoyance, and then you can deal with the real threat right now with the Slop.
Got a little resilience as well. Keep him alive longer. Illuminate on top of it, so Tired is going to have a tough matchup now. He's going to stay safe for the time being. Slapidopoulos kind of walks in to Closar's wall there, but has to use the Cyclone Strike to stay alive. Snaze immediately uses the reanimate. Not ideal timing there for that ultimate. A couple of kills for Slap, though. Somehow he stayed alive at the onset of this mid-fight. Is Toot Toot going to stay alive as well? The answer is no. A stop banning BK will find that one, but a Void Grip will put down the Shaolin once more, and Celestial building up some big percentage points.
And they managed to just keep hold of this. The tank's just getting absolutely demolished, more or less. That reanimate ends up finding nothing because of the time and space, and they might be able to get that overtime with the positioning of the ROM, but all the cooldowns, they're in the way, and it looks like Celestial managed to hold this one, and going forward, they need to be careful not to get staggered out.
There's been a lot of eyes, I think, on Slapidopoulos for good reason, an H streak burning away for this Koga. What have you made of Otev on the Eevee so far? Maybe playing second fiddle to what Slap has provided, but still an important role.
He's doing a great job not going down, I think, just being annoying and making them look at him so Slop can kind of run away with it here, as Interstellar here now managed to stabilize and push forward. But again, I think Barcode is playing this a little bit better, even if it didn't end up winning them that mid-fight here, because Otev, he's doing his job, like you mentioned. He is second fiddle to Slop, but he's making them look at him. But still, the fact that he's able to pressure Barcode, finding kills like that are going to make this push much easier for Celestial once they get going.
And again, I'll say I love watching Eevee for moments like that. A couple ankle-breaking dashes will force Enfield to go down. A good Void Grip kind of put the icing on that cake as well, and then you can blink your way right back in. Down goes the Shaolin once more. So as Interstellar started off this game with a fantastic mid-fight, it's really Celestial now that are the driving force on the momentum of the way things are going here. How'd they siege this high ground, though? Obviously, Otev, the ability to blink up just like this, make its way back down, stay alive, disrupt some of that high ground, going to be so important here, especially with the Vivian and the Shaolin as well. 1 minute left, though, so plenty of time for Celestial to make up some ground.
Unfortunate, though, that's the way it's going to start with Tired getting that long-range crippling arrow here. It is going to be a hard push, though, for them to get up top. I think they might have to spend Assert Dominance, honestly. If anything, have Toot Toot get up to that high ground. But he's spending it early on the low ground, but no one gets stunned, and they just back away.
Felt like he needed to stay alive. Otev gets the kill onto Snaze. A reanimate, though, will keep the Terminus within striking distance. Stop banning BK. He falls on the high ground to Slapidopoulos. Found a few plug shots there. Snaze will end up finding one more onto Toot Toot. Unfortunate low health bar for Closar, but the cart's still rolling itself in. 30 seconds left. A couple ultimates have been spent already. The wall now on cooldown as Closar will use it to stay alive. Tired, back off of respawn, will take up his mantle onto the high ground. So Celestial are going to have to find a way to dislodge him one more time. Full on reset puts Interstellar in a great spot.
Yeah, but Barcode getting the kill into Otev. Again, the one who's meant to deal with him. It's so much harder when you can't... your wormhole doesn't put you past them, right? You're not messing up his aim at all. He just has to slightly adjust to fight you, and that's what will get Interstellar. This defense, the lack of the ability of the Eevee to really make it through into the back. Maybe they have to set up Otev on that side balcony, if anything, but he is running away with it in the damage department now, at the very least, I think. Doing quite a bit there. Interstellar just keep playing around Barcode the way that they were before, but maybe have the tank slow down a little bit. I think they walked Snaze onto point a little bit too quickly. Celestial, their whole plan from the start of that fight was just to take him down.
In 15 seconds.
You're right back to dead even, that being said. And you can really sense, I mean, not for lack of play or poor play really from Slapidopoulos, but this Koga slows down a bit when his ability to kind of fully flank around and find those picks is a bit mitigated, which it is towards the end of that push there. So now he's back into maybe a comfort zone where he can disrupt a little bit. Wonder what path he's going to choose to take here. Is spotted out, dashes forward once, finds Enfield around the corner, melts down through that overheal, but look at the damage. He's taking a little bit too much, has to dash away, receives some healing from himself and from the Genos as well. Toot stunned down, goes down as Barcode finds a free kill. Cyclone Strike right on through the heal. Oh, it's enough here, and Barcode, he doesn't end up dying as Snaze will pick up one. Finally, Closar weaves some shots through, but this is a big fight for Interstellar to retake.
Yeah, and as long as they can get the staggers here, maybe. But Xenost, how is he still alive? Tired,
Whoa.
no, so close. But he couldn't finish off that kill, and now they have the heals, and they're going to charge the ultimates to be able to move in for this retake.
Toot very close to the assert dominance as well. Interstellar not on the verge of capturing just yet, so there is plenty of time, but Celestial not going to waste any. It's a nice storm down onto the point as Otev will pick up one, and a flurry of kills goes down. Interstellar only have this Shaolin left, but Otev will find his way into the back. And that is all she wrote for this one. Celestial already make up a decent bit of ground, but you still got that pesky high ground to deal with, and you hope that this Koga can get a little bit more involved on this push.
Yeah, and it wasn't even supposed to be like this. Tired could have taken it, but the retake potential from Celestial is just so high with Ash and double flanker, and the snowball potential is huge too with the seismic crash.
Yeah, big seismic crash down. They're gonna save the reanimate. Snaze will, realizing that this is a bit of a lost cause. One more turn and his life won't really turn around the way things are happening here. Now Enfield though, Void gripped up. Xenost will pick up that kill. The stagger heavy now. Slapidopoulos makes his way up onto the high ground. This is one way to get involved, absolutely. Here's some big damage. He took 2/3 of his health, though, the moment he poked around that corner. A little bit of sustain, but the crippling arrow will stop him from sustaining anymore. So down goes Slap, but the cart still ever pesky to Interstellar, marching its way on in. Will finally get stalled out through time and space. What a play from Xenost. Snaze, bye-bye, but he uses the reanimate to immediately get back into the fight. Unfortunately for Celestial, though, you've lost Otev, you've lost Toot. Yeah, you gotta back off and regroup.
Just so hard to push into double backline when you have double flanker, and every time you think you get a kill on a tank, he just reanimates, right? Snaze has spent, 3 reanimates now on these these last second pushes. And he's charging them so fast with this decimation damage that he's able to get back in, but maybe Anvil might have misstepped. Rom isn't really good at trading damage at long range. Now he's so low and giving Celestial a chance to come in.
Celestial fully regrouped now, working their way in. Heat haze popped, but the ultimate won't find anything but death as Slapidopoulos picks up the kill, this time a little bit lower down. Look at the ice storm down from Otev. You forced a couple of the squishies up onto the high ground to back themselves away. 1 second on Tired's respawn. Can Celestial find some other picks in the meantime? They sure can. Enfield falls, no reanimate. So if you can work your way through this terminus, big win. Snaze, a hair's breadth away from death here. The cart rolls in and Celestial brute force their way to a victory.
Yeah, just spending everything they had basically to make it happen. No wall even needed. We saw the little baby wall caught up there sometimes when you try to get on high ground. The Vivian could have just walked past, but the pressure from the flankers enough to not let them get in really by the very end of that. But their comm just was able to run away with it once they had the ability to snowball with those marks, right? Chronos 3 on the Genos means at that point you can start marking 3 people at once, then maybe let one of your tanks out to dry a little bit. Seems like, just judging by the KDs, that it would be Toot that was hung out to dry. And both flankers and the Inara can just run in and use that damage boost to pressure out and win those fights.
I love the way Otev kind of came alive in this game. Top damage by a good margin, about 10,000 in that department. A bit of a slower start for the Eevee. That was never a bad game, I don't think, from that perspective, but Otev really started to come alive, I think, on some of those offensive pushes. But it was sort of that 1-2 flank punch, Krez, that I think Interstellar just had such a hard time dealing with. I think the crippling arrow did find some value a couple of times onto Slapidopoulos and Otev as well, but this Eevee and this Koga were just too much.
Agreed. I think they lacked burst damage to really deal with them. It was just the Terminus' Decimation, which is burst but not instant. And the Shaolin was all they really had. Tired, when he was doing his job, it was fine. But the rest of them can just get away from the damage that was being put into them. And sometimes Tired was kind of whiffing those shots. We saw it in that Genos. They just needed burst damage to actually kill these flankers.
God, Ice Storm is so good as well. God, I wish more people would play Eevee. It's just so much fun to watch. I feel like great utility value on top of big damage numbers as well. This is the area where Slapidopoulos finally was able to turn things around on the offensive push potential. Bright Marsh, one way to play. Ice Mines, seemingly a whole different. The point fight may be somewhat similar, you could argue, but a lot of teams, Chris, really like going to Ice Mines early on in these sets, it feels like.
Yeah, maybe it's just probably something they're just comfortable on, or they think it's a big weak point and they just want to get themselves on the board early, right? But, I mean, looking at last map, I think we should expect to see probably a lot of the same tanks that we did last time. I mean, Terminus, Raw, Ashe, you can put all those on Ice Mines and you're not feeling too bad about it. But bans will probably look a little bit different, I think. Not for the Atlas, though, because he'll function here fine. Big Shield or Deja Vu, he'll still be able to stop you from bullying into the window and enable his team to get away with quite a bit.
Right, Victor was a big pain point, at least in the ban phase. Obviously, we didn't get to see him. Rom, a change here. We've seen what Rom can do on Ice Mines, the ability to close a lot of that distance very quickly. Very important on Ice Mines. Strix, though, that's definitely a big change. Not picked or banned on Bright Marsh, but the ability to kind of outbox in a lot of these mid to long range, hell, even short range engagements is just too strong. And then the Victor gets banned out, Krez. Do you think there's a higher price tag maybe on the Kinessa now where she gets picked a little earlier on, or if at all?
I would definitely expect her these days on Ice Mines. It used to be you'd never see a sniper here, but now the engagements I think are long enough and you can protect your sniper well enough to make it happen. But Interstellar, they're choosing, instead of going that way, they're going to get one of the few tanks left that can maybe deal with her if she gets picked, right? You can run in with the Ashe from one side of stage to the other and actually pressure onto that Kinessa, but Vivian will be the target for that more than likely instead. And Celestial can still go Khan, right? They could still play a Khan on that stage side just to go in the way, overpower the Assert Dominance, or just grab her right out of the dash.
Vivian didn't grab the win in game one, right around that 50% win rate, so maybe lives and dies by the way the rest of the game is going around her if she can sit on back. I guess that's sort of the standard Vivian storyline every time she gets locked in. Unfortunately, kind of the ground crumbling underneath her in game number one. She'll swap sides here. Celestial giving her a go on Ice Mines. Genos picked early on here, so Corvus still around if need be. But I think a good duo start, Vivian and Inara there for Celestial. And how about this, Krez? The Willow Hover and potential lock-in for Interstellar. I guess in a matchup where some teams are willing to play Eevee, some teams are willing to play that type of play style, Willow makes some sense.
She's also a little bit more popular in Europe, I think, than in most of the other regions, but it's Ice Mines. She'll do fine here. Her AoE will stack up, will poke people around corners, and anytime you can completely deny healing from an Inara-Corvus combo on the objective is going to feel good. Also, even a good matchup into the Vivian, right? You can shoot right into the shield, stack that damage up. You'll usually trade your life, but as long as sometimes people value that trade as enough when Vivian can be such an impactful player in the game.
This is a matchup of old, Eevee versus Willow, and we're going to get to see it again here. Love to see it. How do you think that matchup looks in your eyes, the Willow up against the Eevee? Do you imagine there's a lot of kind of mid-flight trading going on, or they're trying to do the same thing just on opposite sides of the map?
I'd love to see it happen, but I have a feeling they're not going to be meeting each other too much in that lane as Kinessa now picked up, which is interesting. I feel like the Ashe maybe combined with that, not the greatest combination, right? Ashe might force them out of the Kinessa sightlines, but Koga, I guess, will go with them. A kind of crazy triple DPS combination from Interstellar here. Not something you normally see on Ice Mines, but Celestial, maybe they feel like they might be lacking damage and have to mirror them to match.
And they do feel that way with the Zen to round out the draft. I mean, I suppose purely by health and sustain numbers, the Inara might win out against the Ashe, but maybe that's not what Interstellar are really bargaining for here. Maybe they want this Ashe to dive in, you try to win the fight, and then the way Ice Mines goes is then you get back, put yourself on the point, you send the Genos back, you can mark through walls, and the rest of your team kind of bullies forward. Is that kind of the vibe you're getting here from Interstellar?
Yeah, they have that high mobility. I just feel like they're going to be going all out, honestly. I think they're going to just run down that Vivian and try to go before that Eevee can get pressure, right? If you get onto the Eevee's wormhole, if you push where she initially blinked, she can't blink back. She gets stuck on an island, and it's so much easier to punish a flanker that's normally so safe.
Well, Interstellar, they've drafted a fun composition for Ice Mines here. Important for them to bounce back. Game number 2, you hate to have to win 3 straight. But that's what they're facing here. If Celestial are able to win this one, push us into a game 3, and then 3 in a row would be required. But a composition, I think, that can work on Ice Mines for Interstellar, though we haven't really gotten a chance to touch on Celestial's composition outside of the individual picks all of that much. Interstellar, we maybe figured they want to go all out, dive themselves in, get aggressive forward. How do you think Celestial's composition is able to respond to that?
I think the Xin is going to have to do a pretty good job stalling or at least harassing this Genos, probably in the barn side more than anything. I didn't get a chance to notice the Guillotine or Yomi. I was thinking about how they were going to play, but if they have Gio, they could just play that slow, right? They could just play to execute the Ashe, who doesn't really have all that much sustain in the first place, and then just win the point game. But point game already looks pretty far in their favor with Inara completely uncontested.
Exactly what I was a bit concerned about. If you're not able to win this fight right away, the Inara has the utility to stay alive, but not that long. Barcode around the side here with Tired as well. The 1-2 punch again. We saw the Eevee Koga, now it's Willow Koga for Interstellar. They're able to find that opening kill, and just like this, Interstellar will work their way forward. Less concerned about staying power, more concerned about fighting. Seems to be paying off as Slapidopoulos will go down as well. Celestial, not much of a leg to stand on as Interstellar work forward.
Yeah, they're going to keep them bullied out here. Willow's going to do great at locking them out, but I maybe would like to see Enfield a little bit further back. This seems like a dangerous spot for the Kinessa to be, literally inside of the Willow, but it looks like it's not going to matter too much. He will escape and just tear Tutu to pieces when he tries to touch the objective.
Well, Tutu does touch the objective, though, over time. Very close to being reset here. Slapidopoulos picks up a kill. Important. And Barcode's still alive on the point. Cyclone Strike is just going to force Celestial back for a moment, but Celestial is finding kills. Barcode is going to be the next to go down. What a play for Tutu to walk in, get the overtime touch, and suddenly Celestial has turned this mid-fight around.
Yeah, just throwing himself away, knowing that his team will make up for it is great play, honestly. The double flanker with that kind of burst sustain, they don't need the tank maybe to stay alive here, but if they flight above, but unlike Celestial, I don't think they have a way to get back in.
Uh-oh, Enfield, though, finds the opening pick. Oh, and now a double kill around the corner. Good old-fashioned damage will get it done here for Interstellar. That is brutal for Celestial. You are one tick away from capturing that mid-fight after fighting back in. But then Interstellar do exactly what just happened to them. They find a couple of picks. I think Enfield goes big there. And Interstellar grabbed the first point of Ice Mines.
I had no idea how they were going to get the Ashe in. I'm actually
Agreed.
honestly shocked that she made it all the way. The wall was there, but maybe it went up early. The wall and the Ice Storm layered in the same spot. Maybe that's a misstep. Maybe Ice Storm had to go into the Mines little hallway on the side, and then Ashe can't get in, but they got to talk about that in the freeze time here, but still 1 for 1 currently with the Koga trading out his life, but Inara trying to get aggressive on this Willow.
Through time and space, won't be good here. Snaze and Tutu both will trade out their lives. So Celestial, off a rough loss in the mid, able to kind of take a deep breath, reconvene themselves, get back towards the cart. Close are very low here, but stays alive, and instead it's Tired, who falls to Otev into the ice block. Will he stay alive here? Looks like he might for a second. Blinks his way away, and then right back on through, and that's the power of Eevee. He can force out an ultimate maybe even to try to find and execute. Ice Storm awaiting. A couple members of Interstellar are a bit grouped up here. That's an assert dominance used as well on the backside of this fight. It's going to open up the door for Barcode to find a kill. Snaze as well. And finally, a volley of kills will give Interstellar some breathing room and work the card in.
Yeah, I think maybe... I was going to say I thought that Tutu maybe went too far forward because it looked like he was going to die, but actually manages to live the longest out of everyone, but I think that's just Celestial kind of throwing themselves in to try to keep him up as that fight went on. Otev really couldn't go too much further in, though. It's so risky into that Kinessa, into that Willow, all that damage that can stack up and add up over time, but this should be a good spot for them. I expect them to get it to this corner, having this Willow pressure. The problem is going to be when you get to this big open area, it's going to come down to a lot of pressure on Enfield, but they might not even make it there.
Otev will slow down Interstellar a little bit here. Gets the pick onto Barcode. Xenos doing his best to keep up with the H streak that's burning away for the Genos on the other side. 15 seconds left. Stop banging BK, weaves the shot on in, so down goes Closar, but Enfield has got a long march back to the card as well. Snae's up on the high ground. It's going to have to be a shoulder bash to get in range. It looks like Interstellar will be able to make the attempt and get on in, but Snae's trades out his life for it. Otev dives up onto the high ground. Is tired, will flutter on away, and no Ash, no chance, it seems, for a lengthy contest, and Celestial will tie up the game.
Yeah, Snae's gets the OT this time, but that won't be enough to get them a miracle turnaround like they did last time. But this was the last fight retake, I think. Otev, who did quite a bit off of that touch that they had. Having those flankers is so impactful because you focus one, he blinks away. You focus one, he billows. It's so tough for you to actually lock someone down, but Interstellar's still able to manage to get that miracle retake after they spent everything a little bit earlier. But on this mid, though, now that we're starting with ultimates as a factor, my eyes are honestly on, I think, where this Ice Storm ends up, where the Seismic Crash ends up, these big CC ultimates. If they can have the flankers get aggressive enough off of that could be a way to just start this and snowball right away to deny any chance of Interstellar making it back.
There was an interesting combination of Wall and Ice Storm last time for Celestial. An immediate ultimate advantage, but nothing just yet, as Otev will drop down the Ice Storm. Enfield falls at the beginning, and a double kill for Otev. Big advantage now for Celestial around the corner. Xenos adds one as well. Celestial off to a fantastic start on this mid. Snaves is able to pick up the kill onto Otev. Finally, the Eevee is dealt with, but some body blocking around the side as well as a nice little stagger gives Celestial another advantage.
Yeah, we'll see what else they can do here to go forward with it. But, I mean, Barcode staying alive is going to make things a lot harder, I would say. Having someone close enough who can touch maybe, and no one's really willing to push it. You can see Closar, he can't go because the other members managed to just stay alive, and they have another chance to do it. But Snae's is so far out here, but gets in completely on mount and has the Assert Dominance.
An Entropic Breach down for Celestial, and the Assert Dominance will reach the ground, but the rest of Interstellar is falling like dominoes across the map here. And once Snae's falls, that'll be it, and Celestial will grab their second point, and you've got a pretty heavy stagger over onto Interstellar. Luckily, the overtime timer will get them back to somewhat full strength, but I like this call. Let's push out, let our team capture the card out in the back. Let's make up some ground early.
Yeah, Ash's DPS isn't really that high, so I kind of like how they just looked the other way and killed everybody else there, and now Celestial kind of continuing to look the other way from where that tank is. They find that Kinessa early, and now they're coming over to peel for Tutude. I love this style here, but Snae's makes a great rotation.
Otev attempts to throw down the ice, or does throw down the Ice Storm, attempts to turn something around. If nothing else, got some good damage, and Snae's will tumble and deal back off of respawn. It's going to be a tough spot to deal with this Kinessa. Funneling into a sniper is rarely a fun thing to do, and Envio, especially when he's hitting his shots, will make life ever more difficult. Maybe down to Otev on this Eevee to do exactly this. Look at all the damage that Envio takes there. Unfortunately for Celestial, able to walk away back around to the corner, and with Barcode finding the opening kill and Tired another, things looking tough for Celestial to fight their way in, though I suppose that's just Ice Mines at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. It's always going to be tough when you have these fights happening, I think, in the places they are, but maybe it'll flip around. Slopodopoulos, he just went to the stairs, and they all went for him one by one. Vivian just, they couldn't stop him, and this is the risk, right? If you don't all go at the same time, then you get so overwhelmed by the amount of damage that Vivian has without really needing to reload. But this is the hard part, right? And they're going to have people to contest. Snae's is there, but Ash might not be able to handle the pressure of all this damage.
I suppose I can understand making your name, my ADC is bad, if the enemy ADC is constantly finding triple kills against you. We'll see if Slopodopoulos can get it done as well. Does add one, as Barcode does the same. Well, health bars. This is a Faith Light used for Interstellar as well to keep Celestial at bay. 40 seconds left, though. So that's something I think you have to look at here. Will charge it up somewhat quickly. Cyclone Strike down as well. Celestial Still waiting on that Ice Storm to come back. The Sentinels there as well, but do you like the call, Krez, to throw out a couple of those damage ultimates early on, still with 30 seconds left on the timer?
Maybe not the Cyclone, because I don't think they needed it as much, but I think the Fae Flight I like, because you'll charge it up so fast. Fae Flight already notoriously one of the fastest charging ultimates. They should be able to have it back in time, but the fight ended fast enough where maybe they have another chance to do it, but a lot of damage on Toot early. It might have to be a flanker going in for the touch here, as they spend a time in space also, and that'll just deny touch, but they still get it.
Yeah, my ADC is bad. It grabs the kill onto Toot, so now there's no Inara, and you can guess where this one is going, unless Lapidopoulos can make another miracle. This time it won't happen, and we are right back to tied. Celestial, again, you start to look at that ultimate economy. Here's that triple kill from Lapidopoulos, just sort of guns down any who attempted to dive him here. So good play there from Lapidopoulos. Unfortunately, not enough to turn around that push and give Celestial the 3-1 lead. Instead, we're right on back to tied. And then now, Krez, if you continue that ultimate conversation, there's Seismic Crash, the Ice Storm, the Entropic Breach, all ready for Celestial. Headhunter, Assert Dominance, those are good, but Interstellar, they also spent the through time in space. There's a couple ultimates that they're going to have to be alive to spend later on in the mid.
Yeah, for sure, they have to make it that distance. I don't know if I really like the time and space being spent when it was by ADC. I feel like they have a great combo with it. They can use like an Assert Dominance super forward with that time and space, get the stun to kill combo, but they spent it to kill 1,000 HP Inara, and they still got overtime anyway, so it didn't even do the job it needed to. But Snaze on Slop, and Slop's completely alone, so backline pressure already doing pretty well for Interstellar.
Yes, Slop just trying to do as much damage as he can because he's been left on an island, and Assert Dominance forced out, so Snaze realizing likely wouldn't have won that fight without it, but the fight on the rest of the map a bit split now for Celestial. Interstellar sweep the floor with Celestial on this mid-fight. The Assert Dominance, one of the only ultimates that was ready, was used. And look, the Seismic Crash, not used. Entropic Breach, not used. Celestial just never had the chance.
Yeah, but they got a really early dismount on Tutu. Did you see how far back he was all the way up there on the high ground? So it's going to have to be one of these flankers making it, and the damage is already forward, and it doesn't even look like they're looking for it. They do the Seismic Crash, but it's just on Enfield, and that's the only kill they managed to get.
Otev was somewhere in the back, but I think realizing that his best chance now is giving his team a better chance on the defensive end. A double kill from the Eevee will pay off at least a little bit here. Celestial can get their feet underneath them. Interstellar 1 point away from tying up this set. And it was those second wind ultimates that really kind of, I think, sealed the deal there on that mid-fight. Interstellar stayed alive and then some early on, and then those ultimates that were used late on the defense came back online and really pushed Celestial back. So now Celestial is going to have to defend again with Tired finding a double kill. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, the Willow cleaning up quite a bit and letting them kind of reset here and go forward. But this is going to be a very difficult, I think, kind of a risky teleport here with knowing that there's mobile flankers on the other team going completely alone into Secret. I was going to say Enfiel's going to be the crux here, but he goes alone and gets himself picked off. But Tutu now also pretty overextended in the core of the team. And Interstellar, if they pick the right target, they can turn this around right now.
Oh, but ADC falls. It's a double kill from Tutu, so the Inara starting to come alive a little bit as well. Seems like now we're in the what are you doing for the next minute and 15 seconds territory, because Celestial are going to have plenty of time and space to kind of keep Interstellar on their way back. Maybe it's the through time and space for Interstellar that gives them a chance here to push right on back in. Luckily, they're kind of playing with house money if you want to look back at those ultimates. Obviously, you'd love to win the game here, but you could put Celestial in a position where they're the ones who have to use their ults. Unfortunately, through time and space won't hit, but Tutu falls nonetheless.
This is an interesting choice of this. These are some impactful ults that they're spending right now. They've already used the Assert Dominance and the time and space, and there's still two people behind them. They have to play, I think, right on top of each other at this point to stay alive. But Enfield, again, just tries to do this like a hero, going in to fight these flankers. Kinessa can do it, but it's a big ask, and he just takes a 1v2 and falls.
Yeah, I think that's a really good glimpse at, you know, when we talk about snipers potentially being, like, big counters to these flankers, and in a way they are, but you have to be hitting your shots or maybe a more wide open map. I mean, Eevee is just so difficult to lock down. Enfield, I don't think, felt comfortable at all tracking down those targets through his scope. Not when Closar is there as well, at least. So, The offensive push does gain some momentum, but ends up dying out about 2/3 of the way there, and Celestial Esports will tie up this game. We're headed on to a .7, and there's a lot more filled up hexagons on the Celestial side, Krez, than there are on Interstellar's.
But I don't even know if their ultimates are really as impactful as we're here kind of later in the game. I'm sure resiliences are online for Interstellar, so Seismic Crash and Ice Storm not going to be as impactful. And Closar's running Yomi. That's going to be just, you know, a small lockdown and 2,000 damage about onto somebody, so nowhere near as much impact. If Interstellar can, at the very least, not get hard comboed with everything put together, then it won't be as bad. But Enfield doesn't have resilience, ADC doesn't have resilience, Barcode will probably dodge it realistically, but they've given themselves, by not buying that item, a target, right? 2-2 can just yeet a Seismic Crash into the backline, hit Enfield, give Otev effectively a free initial pick, if Enfield wasn't giving himself up as a pick enough already.
Right. I mean, you got to learn from the previous mid-fight, I think, if you're Celestial here. You didn't get a chance to use those big ultimates. Love coming out and swinging early on. It's the Faith Flight, though, and the Headhunter. Interstellar want to counter out some of the initial aggression, and they've done so well. Otev falls, and look at this Faith Flight from Tired around to the corner. Oh, the final shot's not there. Slapidopoulos grabs the kill, but you've lost a couple members in the meantime. And yet again, Celestial not able to use a single ultimate, though. Not staggered out enough just yet, I don't think, Krez. Still in a good position to retake.
I think they wanted to win it early, though, because now Interstellar have a chance to charge up these ults, right? They're going to have the Assert Dominance soon. They're going to have the Time and Space tune and make a Matrix-style freeze mid-spite by that Xin. This could be looking better for Interstellar. I can't believe he missed the floor. Dave, how do you miss the floor? He was playing Willow. All he had to do was shoot the floor. And he missed the floor, and he made this job so much harder for his team.
What's the saying? You couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. You couldn't hit the floor if you were aiming down, I suppose, in this case. Regardless of all of that, the Willow did buy some decent space for Interstellar to kind of work their way into this mid-fight. As we are paused right now, it's 66%, but Celestial have made their way right on back in, but the retake attempt not good enough. 3 members immediately down for Celestial. What's going on here? They're going to lose this mid-fight and maybe the game at this point. Still Entropic Breach, still Sentinels. Those were last-ditch effort ultimates, and Krez, this one's over. Interstellar's tied up the set.
Yeah, just the timing from Interstellar there was flawless, and they went to the point behind them. They went to spend those CC ultimates, and it didn't connect on anyone that mattered. Enfield still found a kill. Slapidopoulos still gets isolated. I just keep noticing a theme. Vivian really does want a tank to enable. Vivian is a great character, but you have to make at least a little bit of space for her. Every time I see these Vivians dying, they're just alone. And Slap, even then, he still died less than the rest of his team, but you got to be careful not to get isolated when the rest of your team has managed to dive and get into the backline.
There's a theme amongst the frontliners, I think, in this game as well. 6 and 14 for Toot Toot, 7 and 12 for Snaze, so they were kind of the space creators, but often the first ones to go down. Big game for Interstellar to turn this set around for themselves just a little bit. All 3 damage dealers doing somewhat close to one another as far as damage goes. A bit of a fall off for a couple members of Celestial. And I don't, Enfield wasn't necessarily lighting up the kill column here this game, but I think just that extra added pressure, especially in moments like this of that Kinessa, definitely bought some value for Interstellar in kind of keeping Celestial at bay at times.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what Kinessa does, right? Unless she's the priority all the time, she's going to just completely win you fights, right? Uncontested. If you're not dealing with her, pressuring her, she can just one-shot half of your cast, especially when you have this triple DPS. Toot's one of the only ones who can actually live through more than one shot here. But I think having this double backline, 2 games in a row, but this time they have one flanker to supplement it, and just having that Koga from Interstellar to actually clean up on some of the damage that they were doing, I think made a pretty big difference on a map that I don't normally say you'd want to be playing triple DPS on.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch, I think, from Interstellar. And Willow, again, it's 2 teams kind of after my own heart with the type of compositions that they're drafting. Always good to see Willow have herself a good performance as well. Stonekeep, another map where both of those picks definitely viable. Strix Kinessa maybe still viable here on Stonekeep as well. So despite being kind of a totally different map, maybe some of the mindset can be the same on Stone Keep as far as pick ban strategy goes.
I don't know if I want these teams to be playing triple DPS here, though. I've said this a billion times on the community broadcast, but I feel like I just don't see, unless it's triple DPS versus triple DPS, I just don't see it win on this map anymore. It just keeps losing to double tank every time I see it picked up, honestly. But we'll see where they end up if they do go that same direction, but we already see a different direction a little bit taken here. In the ban phase, Androx is very powerful on this map. I think Cursed Arm from that high ground go into Banana to spam over the walls. The high chokes, it can be a big play to use there. So get rid of that, get rid of the ROM, and 3 off-tanks targeted here. Celestial, if I'm them, I'm looking for one of my own. I'm looking for that Ashe. I'm looking for someone else to fill that role in because you've already taken so many out.
That's right. Now Interstellar, a bit behind the 8 ball as far as where they want to go with their frontliners. Inara has been a very popular answer so far this set. We've seen solo tank Inara do some decent work here, so I think Interstellar smart to lock her in, because if Celestial then want to take the Inara, I mean, I don't want to be mean, but you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as the rest of the frontliners go here. So I think a smart pickup from Interstellar to at least get one of those the top tier frontliners on their side. The Genos as well, standard as all things go, but I think smart picking from Interstellar.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Genos Ashe combination is pretty strong, so get rid of that, because Genos amplifies Ashe's sustain so much, she relies a lot on her lifesteal, so get rid of that. Genos also makes that Victor a little bit worse too. Victor loves his Predator 5, loves his lifesteal, more damage makes that even better, so now they definitely wanted him. They'll probably end up with a Corvus to combine with that. Could even be a Damba with it, but they're going to prioritize DPS here. Maeve, actually the highest win rate in the PPC now, by the way, across all regions, 69% in EU.
Nice.
Celestial can't be unhappy about picking up a champion with that kind of level behind it right now.
Yeah, it's closing in on 70% there from the Maeve. Strong for Celestial. Koga just one-ups her at that 70% mark, though a slightly lower pick rate. Around that 10%. So, Krez, I'm wondering, though, with the kind of status of the frontline pool in this pick ban phase and the way these drafts are starting to lean, it might be. I mean, it's kind of looking like maybe another triple DPS run back, maybe from both squads. I don't know if you want to go for a Barrack at this case or anything like that to kind of round out your draft. So maybe it is. Maybe it's triple DPS once more.
It could be Nando. Also, from the side of
right?
Celestial, if they want to do that point tank, and they still have, oh god, I can't even remember who, they still have Khan, they still have Torvald, both ways that they could go here, but the double backline hit scans here for Celestial, they have, we are flashbacks of the PCL, only missing a Talus for Celestial to be back on a Monday.
His name.
If that's, I'm so sorry. You might see him in Brazil later, if anything. But Corvus will be the follow-up for them. Will pair, I think, wonderfully with all of those DPS, honestly. But solo tank Ashe, I'm still not really a huge fan.
Yeah, I mean, look, it did okay, I think, on Ice Mines, but it brought you to 7 points. I mean, this is a different map where, you know, maybe the Inara can find some extra value. Kinessa left open 59% for her, so high win rate characters through and through for Interstellar. Do you like one trio of damage dealers over the other?
I like the Kin, actually, on this map, but I feel like it's going to be hard to fight into Victor Vivian if that Maeve is constantly on her, right? If Interstellar protects the Kinessa, she'll win you the game. That's just what snipers do if they're left uncontested. So a little bit on this Ashe and Maeve combination to run down who I assume is going to be Envy.
Victor Vivian, you know, the PCL flashbacks, I agree. It's all on how much space I think Ashe can make, paired there with the Maeve as well. If left unchecked, going to be difficult. Though I think Koga has the potential here. On Stone Keep, a tiebreaker game 3 to maybe tilt things one way or another. I suppose you could have a bad enough game on a Koga that things tilt in the wrong direction there, Kresnik. 2 teams, again, at the middle of the standings here. We expected a close matchup. We got a 6-point game 1, a 7-point game 2. It seems like we might be barreling towards another close one here. It seems like individuals in each of these games having good performances. I think both frontliners, though, especially after Ice Mines, especially after the KDAs they had, what was it, 6 and some double-digit deaths, 7 and some double-digit deaths. I think if you're either of the front lines here, You'd like a bit of a cleaner performance, though it's going to be tough in a triple DPS matchup.
When I really think triple DPS struggles to push on this map, too. So no matter who wins the mid, both of these tanks are not going to be looking pretty in the stat lines near the ends. But look at this early aggression right now from Celestial. I said they needed to push in, and I was right, but Snaze somehow on the other side of the map kills Closar, who, again, Vivian's and alone. They need to be more careful.
I have no idea what's going on to start off this game, but Interstellar are happy with it. There's red in the kill column. Thumbs up if you're an Interstellar fan or an Interstellar player, and now you're already over halfway there to capturing this first mid, though watch out, Otev and Slapidopoulos have found a couple of kills for themselves. Enviel, wait, he got that kill, wait, what? Otev was a couple daggers away from cleaning up the Kinessa, but instead Enviel turns around to the damage at the last moment. Big now for Interstellar to work their way in. Barcode let off the leash for just a second, and Interstellar have retaken.
Yeah, you can't rely on those hero shots all the time. That's what Enviel was playing for a little bit on Ice Mines, but now apparently coming alive here finally on Stone Keep. As they do get this retake, but it's Ashe in front of a lot of them there, but they managed to get through. The Ashe just needed to delay.
Seems like it's Maeve kind of versus Koga here, and Otev is going to fall more recently. Slapidopoulos has to be careful working around the corner. Overtime is on, but everyone can take a deep breath. It's Celestial that have fought right back in already. Up to action on mid-fight number 1, as Selestial have given themselves another chance. This time it's Slapidopoulos doing a lot of the killing. Nobody back on the point, though. They're going to send the Corvus on back. I'm looking for the dismounts, and you got Nanara so slowed down and Snaze up on the high ground, and Celestial, after a tug-of-war of a mid, will get point 1.
They managed to get it back, and those double hit scans, I think, were a big part of it. When they were both alive, they just did so much damage there as Slop holds on to his charges. I think kind of smart, but Toot Toot got so isolated from it because no one else wanted to push out. They get that first one, and Otev gives up the second.
Interstellar, though, fighting back. This is a fun one to watch, I have to admit. These two teams haven't quite gotten the momentum going, I don't think, over in EU, but watching them duel out with one another, kind of a blast. You know, it's not lopsided one way or another. Very contested immediately from the onset. They both have similar mindsets. It just kind of comes down to who's playing cleaner, who's playing better. And at the moment, it's Celestial with 1 point on the board, but suddenly ADC, a double through time and space, will set up a good defense now for Interstellar. The gates have been stormed, but in the wrong direction, and Celestial's got a lot of ground to make up.
I mean, what a perfect angle from that, too. I saw how ADC lined it up just right on the side here, but the push completely stalled out here, Interstellar. I like the grip combo. Right after Ashe's dash, pull her into the Cyclone Strike, get the maximum value out of that, and they're smart to play this high ground, I think. They're playing their distance. Victor and Vivian, they're good at range, but not that kind of range, and by being that far away, you play so much more into your Kinessa, who, for some reason, is actually on the low ground. In front of them, not using this range, and that'll be a position for them to push into them.
Yeah, you're no Strix, Kinessa, but you can do some snap damage there, I suppose. A bit of a checkerboard in the kill feed, but a little bit more blue than it is red, and that's going to give Celestial the advantage here. Otev starting to heat up again after being hot to start off, and then cold, and now a little bit warm. The payload starts to march forward with 30 seconds left. All 5 ultimates ready to go for Celestial. Interstellar still waiting on a couple. I wonder how much of this relies on Otev and his ability to dislodge some of that backline, but watch out, Slapidopoulos being dove upon. The double dash away keeps Koga alive, but Slapidopoulos is alive as well. Snaze thought that he had a free kill around the corner, but instead it's Otev who will finalize Anara. Now up to the high ground, looking for a few more daggers, sidestepping some shots from Tired. Who's going to win this one? This one's big. Stop banning BK is the one who comes out on top, so Interstellar, it looks like, have bought enough time.
Yeah, but they're still not contesting the card really. Toot Toot's going to be able to roll it forward, and they even want to spend that assert dominance, but they lose one, and they can't get it off because of the Cyclone Strike.
Oh no, Toot Toot goes up, but never comes back down. Celestial still getting a couple of kills. The numbers advantage there, but maybe not the health pool advantage. A double kill as Enviel guns down Otev. My ADC will put the final touches on this defense, and we are tied once more. Celestial not feeling like they were in a position to really spend any ultimates to keep them all. There's your double kill. Could have been worse, actually. There were 4 in that vicinity. But my ADC is bad. We'll have to settle with the 2.
I mean, definitely probably not unhappy about that, but probably unhappy going into this mid. 2 ultimates short. I mean, they use the Headhunter for that defense. They use the Cyclone Strike for that defense, but at the very least, they have their main combo here. If they choose to use them together, they can combine that Seismic Crash with that time and space to follow up on somebody, but there's 5 ultimates on the other side. I guess effectively 4 with the Scout countering the Midnight. That Assert Dominance is going to be so impactful from Celestial. They're probably thankful, honestly, that it got countered out, but the early attempt, and actually it manages to catch Closar on the rollout.
Yeah, you might have missed it there, but Closar did go down. Interstellar, as such, will work their way in. Start building up some of that percentage. Stop banning VK, went big over Otev towards the end of that mid-fight. We'll need to continue to do so here. Barrage rings down damage into the backline. Otev drops down the Midnight and then drops himself down into the backline. And Assert Dominance from Toot is locked in too, way in the back. But look at the health bars, top right of your screen. Interstellar losing so much. Celestial needs to finish off some of these kills, finally able to do so. And it looks like Celestial have opened up the gates to get back in onto the point.
Wow, I love that use of the Entropic Breach there, too, from Celestial. Barcode dives in, and then we see what I think is going to become a classic, the Flanker Stare Down, where he just has that DR and looks at him holding it the entire time while his team kills him. I love seeing it used for survival, because it's not really great to engage, especially on the team that Interstellar have. I mean, who are you really going to kill with it? Kinessa will just snipe through it with True Grit, but they need to get on this point, and killing Enfield is going to be the first step to that, as Otev manages to do it himself.
Otev able to do it, a double kill maybe on the menu, a couple body blocks, a couple daggers. We are still going here on mid-fight number 2, but Celestial yet again have fought in against all odds down towards the end. Toot Snaze both still alive. Snaze wins this battle with the frontliners, tosses up the wall, a Cyclone Strike forces Otev back, but Interstellar, they've got the staying power. And Kresnik, it looks like they've got the mid. Slopodopoulos does not have the range, and Interstellar are pushing for point 3.
Oh, the timing of the deaths there was so unfortunate, but Interstellar also getting that early cap time when you don't have a point tank that can really stay in front of the Inara. You sacrifice that, right? Yeah, Celestial won the fight, but Interstellar get a retake, and Celestial don't even get a chance to try because of all that cap time they gave up at the very start here, as they now try to find their way through. But look at this engagement. A lot of damage stacking up top. They have to use the wall just to get kind of a moment to breathe. But I like how Celestial are doing this. They have someone playing on the flank. Slopodopoulos. They don't need Otev to dive the Enveil. He'll do it himself.
A double kill now from Slopodopoulos. The high ground paying off for the victor. And paying off for Celestial. A clean sweep as Interstellar all back and respawning. Really stalled out here, Krez, where Celestial. Interstellar just too difficult to dislodge from that high ground. You wonder if there's a pivot, or maybe Celestial just realized that some individual trades, if they go their way, will likely be a better push. Farage not going to get anything as Slopodopoulos will go down.
Trades on defense are better because the cart has to go a little bit further, but not when it's this far back. It's about dead even, I think, at this point in the map. But again, trading on defense, still what you are down to be doing as long as you don't give up too much positioning for it, which Enveil misses a crucial shot, so they won't. But Interstellar now, I think they have to find a way to enable Enveil, get him maybe in main with a little bit of high ground control. Just put Barcode and Cassie up top, put Enveil far back in main, have your tank just slow down that fire side, and I guess don't let Slopodopoulos randomly pick your Genos.
And he's going to stay alive, my goodness. Interstellar have not had the answer to him up on the high ground. That is a defensive fight, by the way. If you're wondering where the card is or where we all stand, that is Interstellar just pushing very far forward. They have bought time, but now Otev really for the first time has been able to do just this. Find the high ground, find the daggers, a double for the Maeve. Could be a 3 around to the corner, but instead Closar is going to get things done. Watch out for this cart. Celestial pushed too far forward on the defense, and now Interstellar able to make up a little bit of ground. But Celestial still through and through the beneficiaries in this scenario, and the defense is looking good for the blue side.
Barcode maybe actually could have ulted there, because I don't think Cyclone Strike is really that impactful on mid. Plus it charges kind of fast here, but Celestial, the way that they fought that, it pulled all of Interstellar back, and they gave up the objective time for it. Interstellar just weren't really concerned, I guess, with pushing that far in, but ultimate-wise, they're not going to have that time and space to initiate here. There's the stare down from earlier, Xenost. surviving the dive from Barcode. But they're not going to have the time and space for that early pick. They're going to have to get it a little bit later. But they do still have their CC, so they can maybe try to stop this streak that Slops on, 13-2 right now for his team. A fourth of the deaths that Klosar has. So clearly not the target, but really might start having to be a little bit more pressure put on him because he is clearly just running away with it.
You know who's not running away is stop banning BK or Snaze. I think it was 4-10 and 3-10, so 7-20 combined between Cassie and Inara here for Interstellar. A little extra legwork from those two. Your team might even have the lead. It's a seismic crash down, so at least another assist for Snaze, but Otev has been let go yet again. A double kill for the Mave. A Midnight is going to force Barcode back behind the tree here. The dash on in, and the execute is there. If the daggers won't get it done, the dash sure will. Celestial now back in control on this mid fight, and this Mave on a 12 streak, making life difficult for Interstellar.
Figuring out why she has one of the highest win rates right now in the PPC. But they don't dismount Inara too early. She manages to get close-ish, but they do have a lot of damage from these double backlines, and it will force her to burn some cooldowns and let them stabilize here. But there's too many backlines to actually contest here. They have to dive in, and Barcode makes it happen, but can't find the pick just yet.
Cyclone Strike used. Cyclone Strike finds nothing. Klosar still alive around the corner, but now being flanked by Xenos as well. It's 2 versus 1, 63% for Celestial. ADC does end up sniping out one, but Klosar has got a double of his own. Barcode needs to get something here or at least stay alive, but maybe not as Enfield will get 2. Barcode gets 1, Slapodopoulos being dove on. The last burst is there, and it's the 2 damage dealers dueling it out, and Enfield wins this one. Unfortunately, not enough, though, for Interstellar to really get that much of an advantage. Celestial just 1 overtime away from point 3.
Honestly, this is a tough fight for Celestial, as long as they can get Snaze healed up for the side of Interstellar, because they're going to have Enviel respawn, and he's going to be really hard for them to deal with. But Otev able to dive in, put them way back. But now Enviel's back, he's ready to snipe, and Otev's already so low.
That would have been a massive pick. Otev at a health disadvantage here. Cannot work around to the corner, but a Midnight keeps him alive. Stop banning BK. Wants to turn around to the story here, and he has done so. A triple kill from the Cassie will give Interstellar the footing they need. And a delayed quad from Stop Banning BK. Talk about a turnaround here. Came into this round 3 or 4 and 10. Well, double his kill count in one volley.
Yeah, I mean, Cassie can do that, right? I mean, the rest of the team was kind of running away with the kills, but if the cards are right, if he shoots his shot when they're low instead of to get them low for everyone else, he will get all that clean up there, and another kill onto Otev too, help them stabilize. But it's just a 1-for-1, right? It's 4 versus 4 in this defending team. Tutu's not feeling too uncomfortable, but now he will with that roll-in pick.
Yeah, Stop Banning BK is starting to feel himself a little bit here. You heard it here first, chat. Shoot your shot. You know, Kresnik is telling it to you. It's 2020. Now's your time, whether you're a Cassie or working on texting somebody. That shot can be shot, especially if you're Stop Banning BK up onto the high ground. Couple of kills, and now 3 for Interstellar. I'm talking about shooting your shot, and Interstellar are talking about ending the game here. 2 members left alive. The assert dominance, luckily, is going to slow down the defense for a moment. Maybe buy some time for the respawns with the squishies. Down to the low ground. In goes Barcode, but down goes Snaze. It's chaos down on the cart now, but who's going to come out on top? It's Otev for the moment around the side, and it looks like Celestial somehow have kept themselves in it.
The sustain from the Vivian kept them in the fight. They couldn't kill her right away, especially combined with the healing from Xenost on this Corvus. So, sustain the name of the game on these squishies, and it'll keep them at least holding on for now. But 50 seconds left. They have another fight, and they have at least Headhunter to make it happen. I still think put a tank on low ground, put your DPS on high ground, and just let Kinessa do whatever she wants in main, and you can just tear these backlines apart. But they're all stacking the right side instead, looking for a pick on someone who maybe overextends. Get Otev low, but they managed to find it from Snaze in main.
Oh, and Snaze stays alive back behind the wall. Missing Otev, massive for Celestial on the defense here. Slapodopoulos eats a shot, but stays alive. Klosar, the same goes for the Vivian on the right-hand side. But Snaze from the low ground fires off a volley of rocks up to the high ground. It's happening again. Interstellar have found a couple of picks. It's up to the damage dealers. to get it done now for Selestial, and Slopodopoulos is doing it. It's a double kill for the victor as Enviel only pulls back one. The cart, she's so short you can't hit her from it. Slopodopoulos goes huge, and Selestial tie the game.
Oh my god, Celestial are thanking their lucky stars that Maeve never saw a chiropractor, that she's just sitting hunched over all the time, so she stays right below that hitbox. They couldn't get her, she was just right under it the entire time, and Slop sweeping in at the end. Now 21-6, by the way, having an insane game for him. And the flankers on the other side, or at least Barcode specifically, he's almost keeping up. Both Barcode and Enfield are having a crazy game as well. I think here to be able to keep up with this performance that Slop is having, but the sustain on Celestial, it's stopping them from pushing. Neither team can get this in. It's going to be the last mid-fight, but Interstellar, they don't have a lot of ultimates. Slopodopoulos' barrage, I think that's the most impactful thing that I'm looking at here.
Yep. Agreed. And all credit to Stop Petting BK. If I'm going to bring you up when you're 3-10, I sure will. When you're 12-14, a big turnaround. 4 deaths and 8 or 9 kills in the last couple of rounds, so that's a nice turnaround for the Cassie. A Cyclone Strike spent over on the right-hand side. No kills just yet, but Interstellar building up that point percentage. Stop banning BK, opens things up with the kill here. Grenade goes down. Perfect positioning there for Slopodopoulos for some cleave damage, but the rest of his team is falling, and Toot Toot, the big linchpin, suddenly 75%. For Interstellar, Otev in the backline might be the one who has to work his way in, get a touch here. 90% in climbing for Interstellar. Ziggs goes out, Otev Void gripped up. Toot Toot walks his way back in onto the point. It's an entropic breach to save the game potentially now for Celestial, but the health is way too low. Xenos will end up falling. Barcode will do the same. Slopodopoulos, a double in the final mid-fight, a delayed 3, and Stop Banning BK might have to roll his way back down onto the point, but Celestial starting to make up ground.
I mean, Slop dragging his team, kicking and screaming basically right now to stay in the game, but look at this, the damage on Enfield early, they know he's the priority. But Toot Toot is the one who's capping. They're going to be able to get an overtime, and they have to deal with Enfield. Again, you can't leave a sniper uncontested, but a seismic crash to come in combo from time and space, but it doesn't find anything.
No, it does end up helping out with the kill onto Toot Toot, but Otev immediately trades out onto Snaze. Closar, the big differentiator now. Overtime reset. Enfield deep in the backline gets the double, but Otev has one more as well. The trade's in favor of Interstellar, and it will end as such. The red side comes out alive. Toot Toot nearly there, but a Void Grip seals the deal. What a game, and what a win for Interstellar.
What a game at the very end there. I mean, the time and space, it did some damage, didn't get a kill, but it was enough to clean up that fight near the end. And having that sniper, I think, in the fight when you can't really deal with them was, in my opinion, what really made it so hard at the end. Kness is there. What do you do when your entire team is getting swarmed on the point? You can't have your main aggressor go in, really, because Toot Toot has to contest, and he's already down. You need to have your tanky players go to the point, and they're just going to get sniped one by one.
Slopodopoulos just looking around. He's full-on John Travolta memeing, I think, the rest of his team after the way Stone Keep goes here. I mean, this one, talk about a tug of war. I mean, that's maybe a cliche phrase we use for some of these back-and-forth sets, but we got 6 points, 7 points, another 7-point game. I couldn't tell you the last time we had a cart successfully pushed. These teams just seem destined for defense and mid-fights kind of through and through here. Does that count as that's like, I guess, a 360 no-scope, right? I mean, like, it's a bit different if you're on a Canessa, but I think still counts in my book.
Do you count, like, SMGs as no-scopes?
No, I mean, look, she's a sniper and she wasn't zoomed in. I think that's got to count for something, right? I mean, I don't know. We're being too... Maybe Strix is literally the only one who can do a 360 no-scope, but at any rate, works out here. What a turnaround in this one, and what a contested set we have here, Krez. We're going to take a quick break, and I can't wait to sink back into game number 4. Stick around.
Because we
And just like that, we are back for Interstellar versus... I couldn't do it, Chris. I couldn't do it. Interstellar versus Celestial. Game number 4 now. I mean, this one seemingly has a 5-game set written all over it, but now a chance for Interstellar after a Stone Keep win to seal the deal here in this next one. But we were talking kind of passively during the break. The moment we see these teams lock in triple DPS, that game individually just kind of screams 7 points to us.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you really push on that map with triple DPS unless you just overwhelm them so much and don't maybe stack one side as much. But Celestial, I don't know if they're feeling that bad. Yes, they lost a lot of really close fights in a row, but Interstellar have barely won 2 maps in a row against them. Their map was a little bit more in their favor, right? So maybe they just feel like slightly outdrafted, one little misplay, we can fix it, and then we can, recover that way in Jaguar Falls. This is the map that you go to when you think you're the better team, because historically, the better team wins Jaguar Falls, because it's all these little micro plays, how being a little ahead in one choke point can make or break a fight. But if you know the map well, if you know your team well, you can get away with a little bit more. I do find it interesting, though, Celestial banning this Koga. It was something that we've seen in every set, actually. So every map so far in this set, Celestial were the ones who brought it into this meta, and they're going to be the ones to take it out of it too, I guess.
And now Corvus also taken off the table. That was what I was looking for there, if Genos would be the answer or not. I mean, same conversation I think we have with Strix and Kinessa, we need to have with Corvus and Genos. One gets let through. You're putting yourself maybe at a bit of a disadvantage. Inara still around. Big differentiator, though, I think, Kresnik. Atlas not banned out here this game. The only off-tank that is actually not available is the Ruckus here, so Ash has been high priority, but now going into Jaguar Falls, we'll have the highest potential for off-tanks, and Atlas is going to make his first appearance.
Yeah, the only one denied is the Ruckus, who are probably never going to see in EU again, I'm starting to think, but I do like this Atlas pickup. I just hope it's not Big Shield. I'm just not a proponent of it. I think Deja Vu on this map is fantastic. So many corners that people are going to be going away from you from, and I like Interstellar's priority on the Damba here. I think Inara Damba is a really good combination, so since Corvus and Genos are both gone, you go for the next best thing. You get this Damba, the damage reduction very hard to dive, and this Eevee now being picked up by Celestial is going to have a tougher time fighting this Damba.
Love the Eevee. Love her on Jaguar Falls as well. The first real swap-up we'll see in the healer department, it will be in this game as well. Maldamba first locked in here from Interstellar. Grover tends to be a fan favorite, a player favorite here on Jaguar Falls as well. That's a traditional 1-2 punch, Kresnik, isn't it? The Victor in the back line, the Eevee making space up in the front. And Droxus, though, he'll make his way into the draft phase this time around. I'm liking what I'm seeing as far as the flank battle goes.
Yeah, agreed. I think Andro Eevee, definitely a skill matchup. I would probably give the advantage to Andro just because his medium range gameplay is just so much stronger. He can kind of poke them out. But this tank combination right now from Interstellar, I mean, Terminus Atlas is a fantastic combo on Jag specifically. Term, as long as your team is positioning well and you're decently spread, can lock down a lot of angles. He can keep the main space covered, and his team controls the sides. He can't get surrounded. He's a lot harder to get. It's a lot harder to get damage around his siphon and get into him. But Celestial, I don't think they're unhappy with Grover. Grover has been running away in North America as a strong pickup. They still have to worry about Willow, but I think Grover that CC can be very impactful against Atlas.
There's an Ash lock-in. So back to sort of standard here for Celestial. Inara, Ash, Eevee, Victor, Grover. So I think a very well-rounded, solid composition that Celestial have built out here for Jaguar Falls. And space control and space healing, very important between the Grover and the Ashe. The Assert Dominance will find some good value this game as well, especially in some of those side rooms. How about this, though, Kresnik? The Vivian's still around. Instead, Interstellar want to go to the Strix.
Strix has that burst damage and that stealth potential. Maybe they just think the matchup is a little bit better into the Eevee in particular, right? Those flankers that can avoid the damage. Well, if it's a quick scope headshot, that's 1800, no Haven. That Eevee's just gone from full to dead.
Well, let's get it done here on Jaguar Falls. Game number 4. Interstellar has taken back-to-back maps, both in 7 points after Celestial wins map number 1 in 6. Will Interstellar get it done here? We'll have to wait and find out. They've got a fun composition built out. Interstellar do, Celestial do as well. But the Strix Androxus combo is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then the Temporal Divide on the Atlas, at least at the time being. That'd be an interesting pickup for Jag Falls. A lot of fight separation available there, and maybe buys Strix some time to operate.
My concern about it, though, is that it's so easy, I feel like, to disengage around corners and make the wall not really worth it, right? You'll shield something off, but there's so many ways to break line of sight that it might not be quite as effective. But they're going to play it in the open. I think that's how you have to do it. An early shield here as they control this middle ground. But just getting ran past. They're just ignoring him, and now that he spent that second chance, he'll be the first target.
Cooldown dependent, and with no cooldowns, Snaze goes down for first blood. Interstellar all grouped up, 4 strong. Now 3 around the backside here. Celestial controlling this mid-fight easily up to this point. Interstellar not a kill on the board just yet. And now Celestial are going to work their way into the Interstellar side of the map. A great way to start off Jag Falls.
Yeah, so aggressive already here with Slot pushing up with this Ashe. I think this double tank lineup that they have. I mean, it's an Nara Ashe. It's peanut butter and jelly in this meta, I think. It's going to be an easy way for them to bully them out. But they have to get this Terminus who's abandoning the point to go for 1 kill. It's already been traded. I don't know if that's really worthwhile. And Celestial, they end up still getting the better of it and the point.
That's right, Celestial definitely feeling like the trades, the positioning has gone in their favor up to this point. Interstellar, not much to stand on. And Snaze has just been bullied from the onset here. The Atlas falls yet again. Now maybe a chance, with both teams returning to somewhat standard compositions for a payload push, something we have not gotten in 14 straight points here. And Krez, this is just a snowball forming from Celestial. They have not slowed down. And Interstellar are looking around wondering how they're going to stop.
And look at this passive shield. And now that it's gone, 20 seconds of no defensive cooldown for the Atlas other than Rewind with this cart getting closer. It's going to be really hard for them to, I think, break through. They'll get it up maybe just barely in time, but Terminus might have taken quite a bit of damage already. But Slop, he's in a great position. As long as he can hide from this Strix, he'll be able to put in a lot of damage, and Xenos will deal with the Strix for him. That's
right. So weave that axe on in. This is just kind of brute force now from Celestial. Health bars whittling all over the place, and perfect targets, Enviel and Snaze. No front line for Interstellar to contest with there towards the end. A single kill on the board. Snaze at 1 and 3. And Toot Toot is the only one who has fallen down. I mean, this is always a tough one, Krez, where it's kind of hard to break down when one team is just kind of outplaying the other. I suppose that's the Jaguar Falls mentality you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Celestial probably wanted to go here, you know, with the draft that they have. I just feel like their draft, I like the tank combo from Interstellar, but what Celestial have around it, I feel like is just better. The damage from Otev, he's able to go in on what Slop is doing, very hard to deal with. Also started Haven, so those one-shots from the Strix will definitely not be a factor whatsoever here. And the constant healing from the Grover through walls, not needing line of sight to heal is a huge advantage. And even though Damba, some people put him right below the other healers, some people have Grover there instead, and Celestial are kind of showing us why, especially on this map.
Man, I have loved what I've seen from Otev so far this set. Back on the Eevee here, mid-air shot onto an Androxus, avoids. Alright, I say that. The blink won't quite work out for him. A little healing, though, to maybe get him back in the fight. How about that? Dread Serpent to slow down Toot Toot, but only for just a moment. 5 in a row now for Otev, a double kill to make it 6 straight. And Celestial, yet again, are going to find themselves in command of the mid-fight here. Interstellar do have a reanimate, do have the Atlas ultimate there to maybe stop Celestial from getting another point. Otev, a good first pick there. Stop any BK rooted down short of the contest, and Celestial won't mind Otev falling because point number 3 ticks over.
And they couldn't make it there because of that root. Now they finally do prioritize the objective, and Xenos just completely stalls them on the way here with them having to disengage. But look at this aggression from the Strix. They're so desperate for kills, they send him in, and they trade away 2 for nothing.
Man, Slopodopoulos starting to swing here. A double kill for the victor. Xenos as well picks up 1. We are hurtling towards a game 5, it seems, if Interstellar can't stall this one out. I mean, Jaguar Falls has the potential to be quick, but I've never seen it be just this quick. Finally, Snaze goes down. I think he was kind of rooted in place there just for a moment. Toot does not have the assert dominance, so won't get overly aggressive into the back line just yet. Interstellar, though, still with the same 2 tank ultimates that they had last time around, neither of which bought them any value in the mid. They weren't able to get used here. So with a minute and a half left, Krez, I don't know, man. Interstellar just kind of getting the floor swept with themselves.
Yeah, there it is. It's so hard for them to be able to find kills here, honestly, as there's just so much damage from this Grover. I feel like Xenos is making a huge difference here, and now this Whirlwind will make a difference too. Closar coming all the way back into full, and both tanks tried to dive for it. Closar not even getting rewound all the way back down, and the shield's not even in the way either. Just everything's going wrong, I feel like, for Interstellar right now.
What a read from Otep. Turns around, drops the Ice Storm, couple of more kills. Now for Celestial, rooted on in. Is one more, and that's Enveal. Will he use the reanimate? I'm not sure, and this might be the game as the cart continues to march its way in. Seismic Crash could find its way into the back line. A barrage there as well. We are not even 7 minutes in. The Exiles attempting to be used here by Snaze. One does end up connecting. Barrage making its way back from base. A Dread Serpent peels out some of the back line, but not all that much. Toot will fall to that one. Otev, a good shot on to stop banning BK. Enveal has to stay alive. He might have to use the reanimate here. Slopodopoulos barrages on through. Back up comes the Terminus here. Half HP, grenade on in. Otev, he stays alive and gets the kill. The big stasis field to separate the rest out of this fight. Power Siphon is going to delay things a little bit longer, but Slopodopoulos has not been looked at. Not just yet. Enveal down, Snaze down, cart in, and we are headed to Game 5.
And what a quick turnaround that was, too. I mean, that assert dominance near the end. They gave up the tanks for it, having them both going down there. Assert dominance. How do you get through that there near the end with the DPS that you have? Leandro has to run in the back to deal with this Slopodopoulos, who's relatively uncontested. You have no way to really cross that distance and get in.
Right.
And maybe you're saying, oh, we'll play off sustain, but you're not playing off sustain. You're running Big Shield Atlas. He doesn't have sustain comparative to Deja Vu. He got the most kills out of being in those fights, being consistently there on the point. But Celestial I think they had the better draft from start to finish.
Absolutely. Xenos doesn't die. Closar somehow is an Anara in the forefront of everything, doesn't die. Damage numbers, kind of go back and forth, but really Slopodopoulos and Otev, the driving force here this time around. 10,000 more damage from Xenos as well. It got to feel good to kind of curb back-to-back 0.7 losses, I think, for Celestial. Get yourself one of the cleaner 4-0s we've seen up to this point. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one where it's kind of a complete game out of Celestial, but I'm going to give a shout-out to Otev here again. I think the guy's had a phenomenal set today.
Oh, I agree. I feel like every time we see him pick up that Eevee, it is great. And maybe he's the reason why Vivian is picked a little bit less as opposed to even the character in general, if he's able to get away with basically whatever he wants on her. On a map like Jag 2, it's not even that easy. This isn't the easiest EV map in the world. A lot of corners, but it's also easy to kind of get caught off guard. And if we're going to a map that won't be good for EV, I think Fish Market will be that. So wide. This is where Interstellar want to make their last stand and try to reclaim that third place position from Celestial.
Love watching some Fish Market, and what a way to round out this set over here in EU. We expected it to be close, and it has been up until Jaguar Falls. And now one final game, regardless of the way the other maps have gone. It's Interstellar Celestial. One final time to break that tie around the middle of the pack in the standings as well. I agree. I think through and through, Kresnik, with your analysis on the Eevee, but sometimes I think you just got to feed the hot hand, and if that's where it is, if Otev is just feeling good on the Eevee today, like maybe you go back to it. I'm not sure. I totally agree, though. with everything you're saying, and maybe that tilts, I think, his Maeve, all things considered, despite a loss, looked somewhat good on Stone Keep, so something I think to keep in mind. Ruckus taken away, Genos as well. The answer back last time was to take away the Corvus, but that won't be the case here. Instead, the Atlas gets banned out. Interstellar, if they feel strongly enough, and if Celestial don't ban out the Corvus, they could first pick him, will be available. But a lot is still available here, Krez, for Interstellar. I think both teams really have played the bans well.
I agree. I think I also like them kind of letting through that Corvus because his mobility not necessarily as good on this map, but Interstellar, they want him anyway, even if Celestial will get kind of an aggressive comp out of it. Ashe Maeve would be my prediction for how Celestial want to start this. I mean, they've prioritized Ashe very highly before to go with Toot Toot, and Maeve for Otev would be a perfect fill-in when he probably can't play the Eevee on this map. His Maeve looked great on Stone Keep even when they didn't come out winning there. So having a early aggressive combination will make things a lot tougher for Interstellar to recover from in the draft phase.
Ashe and Strix, though, for Celestial. Strix starts to really heat up on this map, on the defensive stand or that downhill swing on the cart push. The confirmable damage around those very narrow sight lines, I think, so important for Celestial to have locked in here. No Genos, and that maybe opens up the door for the Rom, another favorite pick here on Fish Market, though the mid-fight a bit grouped up, kind of corridory style fights. Krez, you think Rom does have some value here on Fish?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he could just cross a big gap on a map that's so wide, of course he's going to be able to get in and make space. We could probably see Rom, main tank would be my guess, kind of in a snap-in style where he can center near the objective, but will still be diving in to find that Strix, probably getting some Illuminate, and definitely wanting a flank partner to go with him. But Eevee is going to be the pickup for Celestial, even with Maeve open and available. That's surprising to me. Again, I do not love Eevee on this map. It's just so wide open, and if they end up with a burst hit scan on the side of Interstellar, that's going to be a really hard game for Otev, but you said you're right. Feed the hot hand, right? Keep that going. And they're willing to do that. They're willing to push this champion that might be suboptimal just to get value out of Otev.
And they're rolling the dice, I think is a good way to look at it for sure. Not optimal, but maybe pure mechanical skill will take the day if one guy's got all that momentum. And Nara, good pick there. Ashe for opening some space, and Nara for, I guess, filling that space. Buck, though, haven't seen him yet this set. 58% win rate. Great for some of that backline dive. You're going to need some of it to sort of dislodge the Strix, try to counterplay out that Eevee as well. Now is an important pick for Interstellar. I was wondering if it would be another tank, and I guess technically it is with the Torvald, but an interesting composition nonetheless when the game hangs in the balance.
I like it into the Eevee though, because again, if you think Eevee counters Vivian, then having a Torvald there kind of deals with that in itself. Torvald is a anti-dive support at the end of the day, even if he's in that front line lane. So put him against the Eevee, bubble the target, boom, that's an extra shot she can't really afford to stay there for. Ashe, nullify all of her movement abilities. Torvald will be a huge thorn in Celestial's side that they're going to need to maybe bring the Strix in with the dive, honestly, to be able to fix.
We have gone the distance here in this matchup. I think as we expected, those middle two that were so back and forth that Interstellar won both of in 7 points, it just seemed like we were maybe a little bit destined for us to make our way here to Fish Market. Maybe not Fish Market, but to Game 5 at least. Celestial, though, you got to remember, they won Jaguar Falls convincingly going into this matchup. So this is Interstellar putting their final best foot forward here on map number 5. Not necessarily which one do you like better. Do you think one of these compositions might perform a little bit more consistently that you give the edge to?
I gotta hand it to the Torv. He's just not being picked in EU, but he is a star in North America and Brazil, so I like seeing teams picking it up, kind of reaching into those other metas. I think he is a consistent star against a composition like what Celestial are bringing to the table.
Interstellar, Celestial, Game 5, Fish Market. Let's round out this set over here in EU. Just now swapping over to Bounce House. We like seeing that, though. The little extra damage if you're just going to dive on top of the Strix through and through, but and maybe an interesting talent choice nonetheless.
I love seeing the Kinessa Torvald dual main. The classic. the common flex been these players. But no, Enviel showing his flexibility going between the two of them. And an early start here on the right side, but he can't bubble his buck. But that bounce house actually just enough to start this fight out.
Oh my god, Slapadopoulos blinked, and suddenly he's not able to participate. And look at the percentage as well, 66% and climbing. A couple important trades back, though, from Interstellar. Stop banning BK makes his way in. Interstellar have kind of been running with this fight, but a lot of staying power gave that initial 81% over to Celestial. Now is Interstellar's chance to divide the map and build up and maybe get point one.
I liked seeing the bounce house actually able to counter the shoulder bash. You don't normally see that, but it's an interaction that works, and we might be seeing more of it as the game goes on. But OTEV, early pick here onto the buck as they want to break through, but there's a lot of ground to cover if they want to hit the point and get overtime.
81%, so just now matching Celestial. Slapadopoulos does get the kill. Body block's going to be important. Toot solo. Enviel stunned on down. Barcode gets one. Slapadopoulos does as well into the stealth onto the point. 99% for Interstellar, but Selestial, they're getting all of the killing done here. Can Stop Banning BK make a big play? The answer's no. And Celestial have done just enough to stay alive and get point one on the board.
And the cap time completely denies any chance for a retake. Interstellar, they had it, but the tanks just never let go of W. And maybe inconsistent damage if the Vivian isn't able to be there to fight into them. The Buck also missteps. They have to be all on the same page to find the kills here. Now it's going to be so hard to push into Slapadopoulos, but Tired is trying to make up that gap.
This is always tough to push on this map. This initial kind of choke point and turn, that's a big ice storm. To kind of delay maybe what they figured was going to be happening there. It would have been fantastic if it was Interstellar's ice storm, but it was not. But here's the damage and here are the kills, and now a Dread Serpent will kind of separate to the backline of Celestial. Well, that's unfortunate. Use the Buck Wild and step a toe into the Dread Serpent at the last possible second. Might still be able to get some of the killing done nonetheless. And some back and forth trades will keep the cart where it's at.
This pressure from Tired is kind of immense, but how do they really take him down, right? He's getting constantly pocketed. Slop, though, looks like on the far side, rotating to the cart. They didn't expect that angle. Snae's on the respawn. We'll deal with them, but Slop, this is how you have to play Strix. You want to be taking these weird off angles to do it. Just going to be hard with a Vivian waiting for you on the other side as he trades out to both DPS.
Yeah, big double kill there from Barcode, and that's a win in his book. And Interstellar suddenly able to kind of pull this one back into their favor. A wall thrown up from Closar, and the Inara stays alive. Oh, the boot backwards. Toot has a double, and he's gotten both of the frontliners here. Celestial, they looked backs against the wall, but the frontliner gets it done in spectacular fashion, and the cart will start to work its way back in again. And this is maybe where the Strix and this Eevee can kind of flex their muscles a little bit extra.
If they can make it all the way around this last corner, it's actually going to be so hard for Interstellar to fight this. Slapadopoulos will have the world basically to play with, especially with OTEV kind of in front of them, continuing to put on the pressure. But you can't really stop a ROM when he goes in like this. He's in so deep in the back line, and they have Buck follow-up.
OTEV into the ice block. Stop any BK. Does find one. Oh, the up-down for the double. Xenos and OTEV seemingly stood no chance. A triple kill for the Buck, left alive in the back line. And Interstellar now have done enough to keep the cart exactly where it's at. And wouldn't you guess it, Krez, another no-push start to this game, and we are tied up at 1 again, headed in to mid-fight number 2.
A great triple kill by the end from Stop Banning BK, being enabled quite a bit by this Torvald. I am curious about his build, if we could take a look at the Torvald build and see the setup there. Was yeah, unlucky. If we could see the Torvald build, I do want to see the amount of ammo he's giving, and 6. So a full reload for the Buck every time he goes in. Literally could just non-stop. Once Kronos is online, that is literally a unstoppable Buck. 50% speed, never having to reload, and getting healed for 375. So a big combination there with that. It's just he can't get CC'd, or honestly it's all over. Got to avoid that ice storm, got to avoid the seismic crash, because Torvald shield is good for supplementing but not, you know, hard pocketing through the everything.
I don't know how Tired is ever supposed to play Buck without a Torvald again. You know what I mean? I mean, you get pocketed the entire game, you have all this great utility added into your kit. I just don't know how you go back to playing normal Buck if you don't have a Torvald on your team. It's Seems like it might not be worth it. Into the ice block, but immediately in to that Dread Serpent goes BK. Barcode with 1. Otep goes down, so does Toot Toot. Interstellar looking fantastic at the onset of this mid-fight, but remember, this is exactly what we saw last time before Celestials restormed and regained control on the mid-fight side, and now maybe a Buck Wild will help out. A Seismic Crash grabs the stun, but stop banning BK far enough away to stay alive. Otep will pull back 1, and all this time Interstellar building up on the point.
I honestly feel like that's strictly worse because they didn't get any cap time. Look at that knockback, dude. The Ashe said flying away. She'll have to dash to get back, but still not even really close. The timer goes even more forward, and Stop Banning BK is disrupting them so much, but Otep gets the OT.
Otep does get the OT touch, but 93% for Interstellar. Closar getting the kill onto Tired. Massive now as Celestial have a small advantage. Enviel, though, Torvald can do some killing of his own as Otep learns that the hard way. Barcode over here on the right-hand side doing decent damage. Toot Toot back behind his shield. Stays alive, but Closar maybe not. Is Enviel going to get another one here? He's not doing most of the damage, but he might be getting the final shots. Toot Toot dashes in and will finally be rid of the pesky Torvald. Tired without the Torvald pocket will get 2 nonetheless, and Interstellar have found the trades and found point number 2.
Even when you do turn and burn that Torvald, right, it's still a tanky character. He's got around like 5k plus the recharge if he has that saved up for it, so he's going to take a lot of your attention, and even that is enough to make a little bit of space here as they go forward. But Celestial, I don't know why they changed things up. Their mid was fine the first time. They had to retake, but this time they say, all right, we'll give up the one thing that let us win the mid, and of course it collapses, but now on this refight, they have a chance to move in. Toot Toot finds the first. He will trade his life for.
Yeah, it's Stop Banning BK who picks up that one. A good stun around the corner will set up Celestial for a couple of kills. Are we going to do this again? Is the team that just lost the mid going to kind of stop any sort of offensive push from the other team? And neither team can get anything going except for what? Jaguar Falls and then a little bit on Bright Marsh and map number 1, but up until those two and potentially now here in this one, we have not seen either team really feel comfortable on any of these pushes up to this point. Celestial now, feeling strong, I think, in the ultimate department. Gets a little bit awkward on that 1 minute kind of downswing to the next mid-fight, so time could be of the essence in using some, but if Toot Toot's going to get another kill again, it won't matter. Closar adds one as well, and the Celestial squad looking good for maybe their second point.
Yeah, as they hold here. There is still a minute left, though, and maybe Interstellar could even spend a Hyper Beam, maybe, if Enviel can get enough charge. It is kind of more of a throwaway ult, as we saw what Enviel did with it last time. But he's under a lot of pressure right now. Probably going to go down, but actually great healing from his team. And the peel from Barcode. They overextend to kill the Torvald. I said he's tanky. He's more tanky than even I thought. They have to trade a whole life for it.
1 for 1 is the way that trade finalizes. Stop Banning BK will restore. Has the Buck Wild. But at this point, you're so far away, you might just hold on to the ultimates. Instead, Celestial toss out the flashbang. Luckily, not all of that much ultimate value in the flashbang to the point where you don't just throw it out, maybe secure yourself another point here. But be careful. Closar goes down. Snae's rumbling on in. Interstellar building up some momentum here. Toot Toot taken low, taken down. Barcode gets that one. There is a Hyper Beam here as well. Not out of the woods just yet. Instead, the cart rolling into the woods. Celestial's defensive stand.
That was a fantastic play by Snae's, by the way, to open that up. The fact that he went in and body blocked the Ashe on the retreat was flawless positioning here, but they lost Barcode. He is their consistent damage, and unless you have the biggest Hyper Beam of all time, I don't see Interstellar, I think, moving this card any further. They're trading for damage, they're trading for ult charge, but both teams already have it. Just kind of giving an advantage now to Celestial.
Well, Tired receives the shield, but Slopodopoulos hits the final shot there. A double kill now for Strix. A triple kill will seal the deal on this defense, and we are doing this again as we head to another tied-up mid-fight. Celestial will keep things as we stand.
Celestial, they had Inara capping the first mid, which got them the refight win. Next time, they start Inara on point and then hard cut her over. Do you just keep Inara with the team and deathball? I don't know if deathballing is necessarily the answer. for their team, but they have quite a bit of CC now that they can use. They have Assert Dominance, they have Dread Serpent, they have actually all of their ultimates are CC, so I better see a lot of resilience on the side of Interstellar, and I do. But stop banning BK may be a big miss here, not having that quite yet, but had to rush that Illuminate just to get on top of Slopodopoulos. Celestial, maybe they start a little bit more spread, and whoever's on their side is just willing to spend their CC to slow down the snowball that Interstellar are going to try to start with that buff.
Dead even once more. Sentinel's the only ultimate that is down. Stop banning BK, dives into the back. Barcode falls, swirling in now as Otev. As Celestial have already found a couple of picks here. My ADC is bad, pulls back one, but Enviel around the corner, quite low, stays alive. But the dive, it is coming from Celestial here into the ice block. Snaze. How's Enviel still alive? Thank you, Slopodopoulos. Gets the kill onto the Torvald, finally goes down, but Otev has been so maneuverable up to this point. Solo here, has to drop the Ice Storm. In the turnaround from Tired will pick up the kill. Interstellar do it again and regain control of the mid-fight.
I think once they got Enviel, they just had to stabilize and hold back maybe, but a little bit too much. Barcode chased Slop while he was running into the backline to play a flank game, and they weren't able to do much more out of it. But look at this right now. They're sending Snaze all the way into the back to fight the supports. Both off-tanks just trade positions, but Tired's there to get his trade of his own.
We're dead even now on the point percentage. Interstellar still in control in percentage and in the numbers department. Barcode taken down, evens things up. Enviel throws out the Hyper Beam, but he's too low to really tango over here with Toot dancing back and forth behind his shield. Snaze gets the kill nonetheless, might get another one. Now onto Otev. My ADC is bad. Is going to be the one to get it done. So slow on the overtime. Interstellar in control, but Celestial waltzing their way right back in. Slopodopoulos gets the kill now. Onto Tired, into stealth, goes to Strix, dancing back and forth behind the box, up top, Snaze, still controlling the low ground here. Closar, not enough support to stay alive. There's the stun. Interstellar grab point number 3.
Rom is just so tanky. He was 8,500 in that fight. How do you actually turn that around? But that almost went so wrong. Stop banning BK. Tired dove a Strix with no ammo. He jumped in and just reloaded in Slop's face and was like, all right, here, listen, if you're gonna make things easier for you, you're under a lot of stress, I'll give you a kill here. But Interstellar now, they're not playing nice anymore. They are trying to get aggressive. But both tanks now getting stuffed into them. And Celestial, they need to equalize this somehow with a hard dive, but they're running right into Barcode and they don't even know.
This is the most momentum we've seen either of these teams have on a push so far this game. Barcode being looked at though, is Celestial suddenly gonna slow down everything that had been built. Barcode though, fuels up the tank with a little bit more gas as Interstellar start to work their way in. But Closar weaves the final shots around. Barcode does not get that kill. Enviel is going to get whittled away as well. Come on! As Interstellar suddenly gets swept, and Celestial are going to push back out.
I hope you don't need to go for a walk soon, Dave, because this seems
My
like...
dog has woken up, so...
Oh, well, that's just because it's too exciting. She wants to see exactly
I'm
how
yelling,
things are going to end up here, but... the back and forth trade, it's so hard for Interstellar to break through. Right now, they're getting kills, but it's constantly being traded because of this tank squad just rolling together as one. As Tutu now meets them, but Slop kind of left alone and Tired. Start to move in with it. And DR's going to run out too, so they lose 2 right away.
Stop banning BK, pops the Buck Wild, pops 3 kills, cart rolling forward. Could it be this set is going to end on a payload push? I'm not so sure. A bit separated now, or the rest. Tutu, though, so staggered out. There's no more Ash for the next 10 or so seconds. Slopodopoulos needs to stay alive, needs to find damage. Interstellar patient, though. Closar still there, so the Inara enough of a threat to keep Interstellar at bay. 25 seconds left. Snaze rumbling on in. Not much scarier than that, than a Rom sprinting in at you. Look, he's got the stun. This could be big. He's going to have to drop down if he wants to connect with Tutu and Closar as well. He's going to do so. Stun connects onto Closar. My ADC is bad. Finds it. Puts the Assert Dominance. Oh, the Hyper Beam! Massive play from Enviel. Sends Tutu off into the nether. Barcode grabs one onto Slopodopoulos. Interstellar, get it done.
That could not. It was razor thin. It was so close. I thought I heard the noise of it landing, and then he just got sent flying away. The assert dominance just over. What a ridiculous hyper beam. That is normally an old people are like, oh, you just get CC'd out of it. Oh, it never does. It never does anything, Dave. I just get stopped. Right? They get resilience. It doesn't matter. It sends one of their best ults off the point, and they could just roll it in without even needing a point tank.
Yeah, I'll take that, please. After a tumultuous game, Envil 3-10 and 25 gets it done in the assist department, not the kills or the deaths, maybe. Of course, 125,000 shielding will be just fine. Barcode, Vivian Krez, I think, had a tough set. I mean, all in all, between Interstellar and Celestial, back and forth, Vivian didn't necessarily light up the scoreboard. I think finally Barcode was able to put some success to the name. And it was the 1-2 punch, I think. Stop banning PK, opened up enough space, and in the backline, Barcode could do some damage. This was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I also think it was a part of pairing the Torvald with it, too, who I think had, a 1% pick rate in Europe. Now, coming into his own here, pair with a Buck, pair it with a Vivian, so that when they try to dive onto her, he just gets saved. And it was your favorite little pinball hyper beam there. Constant value, honestly, from these hyper beams from Envil. I felt all map.
There's just something so fun. It's so Arcadian funny in the best way possible. You just send somebody just soaring, you know what I mean? It's like this. It scratches the same itch that Summit 5 Inara gets. They're just flying all over the place. There's just something so funny about it, in my opinion. Big value out of the ROM, I think, this game as well. The stun set up a kill onto Closar at the end of the game there, forced the assert dominance, and sort of all that big combo was really big for Interstellar to end up working its way around the end there and finding the win. Here are your updated standings. Interstellar with the win. They will leapfrog over Celestial despite the worse map plus minus. Celestial will be looking up into that top 3. So Interstellar, a big one today to kind of separate themselves from Celestial.
Yeah, and it's been a tough start for them, I think, to get here, though, making it over teams like Celestial and Chroma. Celestial, who I believe was first seed at the end of Phase 1 now. Of course, a couple roster changes, but the fact that Interstellar's been able to kind of come back from being in this, from the relegations and now make it to third place. It's a great look for some of these teams. And speaking of relegation teams, Ignite versus Carnage. Ignite, another team that came in from relegation and has been impressing in Brazil.
Yeah, Carnage has always been such an interesting team, I think, to kind of look at over in Brazil. You can't quite, I don't think, get the measure on which Carnage you're going to be getting. You look at that matchup, though, Kresnik Carnage versus Ignite. Obviously, you and I will not be casting that one. Instead, Gore and Finch will be on it. So, unbiased opinions aside, or biased, however you want to be, since you're not working on it, do you lean one way or another in that matchup?
I think if Ignite can keep surprising in draft, I think they can take it. But Carnage are a team that has been looking a lot more consistent lately. Yep. Maybe not into Parallax, but no one's looking consistent really into Parallax. Right. So I think this game will be won or lost in the draft phase.
That one's going to be a blast to watch. We start off this Thursday in Paladins with a 5-game set, as if we would have expected anything else between these two teams. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Finch and Gore will take you into Brazil.